My name is Brittany, and at 32 years old, my sister-in-law mocked my pregnancy, demanded my twin names, and tried to use them first, but I clapped back in a way she never saw coming. If you have ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you are watching from. I've been married to Jack, 34, for 4 years. We have a 3-year-old son and are currently expecting twins, a boy and a girl. This situation includes Jack's sister-in-law, Miranda, 36, who is married to his brother, Tony, 40. They've been married for 7 years. Miranda and I are extreme opposites. She is outspoken, the center of attention at family events, and has strong opinions on everything. I prefer to be quiet and observe people. When Jack first introduced me to his family, I informed him that Miranda and I would never be close friends. We've had a cordial but distant friendship ever since. The trouble began 3 years ago with my first pregnancy. Miranda and Tony have tried to have children for years without success. When someone mentioned my pregnancy at family dinners, Miranda would either change the conversation or make comments about how pregnancy was not that unique because millions of women go through it every day. Then she'd spend significant periods of time in the restroom. Miranda unexpectedly offered to plan my baby shower around the middle of my pregnancy. I gently declined, stating that my mother and sister had already covered it. She persisted for weeks until I had to be more honest about not wanting her involved. The oddest behavior began after we revealed that we were having a son. Miranda got preoccupied with learning what we wanted to name him. Every family gathering, phone conversation, and text message, she would inquire about the name. When I told her we weren't going to share it till birth, she got obviously angry and commented on how secretive we were. Jack and I chose a traditional Irish name that was uncommon in our area. Miranda couldn't stop gushing about how unique and beautiful our son's name was once we revealed it. She'd bring it up at every opportunity, telling everyone how she'd never heard a more wonderful name before. This continued for months. Fast forward to this year. Miranda finally became pregnant about the same time that I conceived the twins. She was approximately 9 weeks ahead of me when we announced we were having twins. She resumed the name questioning, but this time she wanted both names because we were having one of each. Her remarks grew increasingly offensive. She'd make comments about how, with twins, I'd probably gain twice as much weight and never recover. When someone congratulated us at a family cookout, she loudly proclaimed that we had clearly gotten pregnant on purpose just to steal her thunder. Everyone knew we had been trying for a second kid for more than a year. I opted to ignore her comments entirely. Miranda thrives on drama and arguments, so I felt the best way to irritate her was to offer her no response at all. After weeks of her repeatedly asking about the twin names, I became skeptical. I asked Jack whether he believed Miranda wanted to know our names so she could use them first, given she was due earlier. He chuckled at first, but soon understood I was serious. After some thought, he admitted that it was plausible. I then decided to put my notion to the test. Jack's father was celebrating his 61st birthday at our place the following weekend. We had been steadily putting together a nursery for the twins in our spare bedroom, but it wasn't ready yet. I devised a strategy to leave false identities somewhere Miranda may discover them if she went digging. I went online and created custom wall decals with 2 names that I liked but were not near to our final choices, Rose Arwin and Luke Max. I completed the entire ordering process but stopped just before completing payment. Instead, I printed the final order confirmation sheet, which included both names plainly. The night before the party, I folded the paper and put it inside the nursery dresser's middle drawer, giving the impression that it had been haphazardly shoved in there. I made sure one corner stood out just enough to be noticed if the drawer was opened. Jack thought my scheme was absurd, but he agreed to a $23 bet that Miranda would not snoop. We were busy hosting the party at our place, so we didn't pay attention to Miranda's movements throughout the evening. The next morning, I checked on the nursery. Everything looked the same. The paper was still in the drawer, exactly where I'd left it. Jack and I assumed the test had failed and forgot about it. But then I realized something intriguing. Miranda ceased inquiring about our baby names after the party. For someone who had been bothering us daily for weeks, the sudden silence seemed strange. Miranda gave birth to her baby 4 weeks later. Jack and I visited the hospital to greet our baby nephew. When I asked Miranda what the baby's name was, she smiled and said, Luke Max. She stared directly at me when she said it, as if she was expecting a great reaction. Instead of appearing offended, I became overly enthusiastic. I raved about how beautiful the name was, how perfect it sounded, and how fortunate they were to choose such a lovely combination. I continued for a full minute as Miranda's attitude shifted from smug enjoyment to uncertainty to apparent frustration. Jack tried not to laugh alongside me. Later in the elevator, he gave me $23 while shaking his head. We didn't see Miranda and Tony for a few weeks, giving them time with their new kid. Miranda, according to Jack's mother, appeared to be struggling more than expected with new parenthood, probably due to baby blues. When I informed my sister about the event, she laughed at first, but then thought I was being harsh by setting Miranda up like that. I can't decide whether what I did was wrong. Miranda was making my pregnancy difficult with her continuous demands and harsh comments. The phony names weren't even names I wanted to use someday, but perhaps I went too far with the trap. Should I feel horrible about it? Update 1. The issue with Miranda has become more difficult than I had anticipated. First, let me explain why Miranda and I never got along. The problem began when Jack and I became engaged after only 9 months of dating. Miranda told family members that I was rushing Jack into marriage and had possibly ensnared him in some way. When Jack's grandma mentioned how excited she was to have another granddaughter, Miranda made a point of adding she hoped Jack was certain of his decision. Our wedding made everything worse. Jack and I had a typical church service for 151 guests, followed by a reception at a country club. We went on an 11-day honeymoon in Ireland. Meanwhile, Miranda and Tony had married at City Hall in front of only their immediate family, followed by dinner at a chain restaurant. Tony proposed after Miranda gave him an ultimatum concerning marriage, which the entire family was aware of. Miranda also battled with the fact that Jack's family welcomed me right away. His parents and I share similar hobbies and characteristics. His grandmother, who everyone refers to as Nana, immediately began engaging me in her weekly shopping excursions and Sunday dinners. Miranda and Tony had been together for 4 years before their wedding, but Nana had never warmed up to her in the same manner. The contrast became even more stark after Jack and I purchased our suburban home 3 years ago. Miranda and Tony continue to rent a small flat in the city because they cannot afford to buy property in their neighborhood. Jack and I both have steady corporate jobs with nice benefits, whereas Miranda and Tony work in retail with uncertain hours. Miranda had too much to drink at Tony's birthday party approximately a year ago and got into a fight with him over money. In front of everyone, she stated that she should have married Jack rather than Tony because Jack had his life together. The entire household went silent. I was not even surprised. I assumed Miranda had affections for Jack for years, based on how she behaved around him. I answered by asking whose brother she was referring to, which would be incorrect anyhow, given that Jack and Tony have a younger brother, Neo, who is just 26 years old. Miranda lost her cool entirely and began yelling at me for twisting her words. She said the next day that she did not recall saying anything wrong. Now for the latest update. Jack's mother came over yesterday to discuss arrangements for my baby shower next month. I'm due in late January, but twins usually arrive early, so we're prepping for December. While she was here, I asked how Miranda and Tony were adjusting to parenting. Jack's mother sat down with a heavy sigh, saying it was complicated. Miranda and Tony, she claims, were battling about baby names even before the kid was born. Miranda had spent months compiling lists of female names, but refused to consider male names. When Tony inquired, Miranda asserted that the baby was certainly a female. If it was a boy, she intended to give him the name Tony Jr. This sparked a heated disagreement because Tony's older son from a prior relationship is not named after him. The youngster lives with his mother in another state and visits her twice a year. Tony believed that naming the new baby Junior would be unfair to his first son. Miranda, according to Jack's mother, convinced herself she was having a daughter because she wanted one so much. Miranda refused to find out the gender while pregnant for fear of being disappointed. She insisted on enjoying her pregnancy, believing she was bearing a girl. Miranda's yearning for a girl grew stronger as a result of her family relationships. Jack's mother is the only daughter in a family of 3 brothers, and she has 3 sons herself. My son was her first grandchild, yet my daughter would be her first granddaughter in decades. Jack's mother burst into tears of joy when we announced we were carrying a girl. Jack's mother has always been nice to Miranda, but they have never bonded. She is smitten with my little son in the sweetest way. Every week, they organize activities for grandmothers and grandsons. Miranda observed this bond develop and grew persuaded that having a daughter would finally cause Jack's mother to love her in the same manner. When Miranda gave birth to another grandson instead of the granddaughter she had hoped for, something changed in her thoughts. The hospital scene was considerably messier than I expected. Miranda and Tony were still debating over names when Jack and I arrived. Miranda had never mentioned Luke Max to Tony until that point. Tony was stunned and indignant when she told us what had happened. He had no idea where those names came from and disliked them completely. Tony refused to sign the birth certificate bearing such names. They left the hospital without providing a name for the infant. According to state legislation, parents have 11 days after the birth to register a name. Miranda ultimately told Tony that he could do anything he wanted since she didn't care anymore. Tony chose Bruce Rocky. Bruce is named after his favorite basketball player, while Rocky is named after a boxer. He preserved the Rocky from Miranda's announced name, but otherwise modified everything. So, the infant was never given the name Luke Max. Miranda's attempt to utilize my fictitious names lasted precisely as long as it took Tony to put his foot down. Miranda, according to Jack's mother, has become withdrawn since returning home from the hospital. She meets the baby's basic requirements, but appears distant from anything else. She broke down crying in front of Jack's mother last week, stating she'll probably never have a daughter due to her age and their previous fertility issues. Despite everything Miranda has put me through, I now feel awful for her. Having a healthy baby should be enough, but I understand feeling disappointed after months of building up expectations. The irony is that Miranda's breakdown may bring her closer to Jack's mother, as they now share the experience of only having sons while desperately wanting daughters. Miranda still has no idea I set her up with the fictitious names, and I haven't notified anyone in the family about my scheme. Some may argue that I should confess, but I don't see the point in exacerbating her current situation. I'm not regretful about what I did. Miranda made my pregnancy uncomfortable with her incessant demands and rude comments, but I'm also not cruel enough to kick someone who is already down. Update 2. Miranda discovered my name trap, and the consequences have been far worse than I anticipated. I gave birth to twins in early January, Rose and Frodo Jack. Yes, Rose was one of my fictitious names, but it was also on our list for girls long before the trap. Pure coincidence, which resulted in further trouble later. Both babies are healthy, and we're adjusting well to having 3 children under 3 years old. Jack took 2 weeks off work to help, and his mother has been coming over every day to help with the elder children. The difficulty began when Jack's mother was carrying Rose and noted how lovely her name was. She stated she had seen it recently but couldn't remember where. I made a general statement about it being a common name. That evening, Jack's mother called me. She recalled seeing the name Rose written on a piece of paper in our nursery dresser drawer the night of Jack's father's birthday party. She explained that she was searching for baby wipes at the party when one of the children had an accident. I informed her that there were supplies in the nursery dresser. When she opened the drawer, she noticed the corner of a paper peeking out and tugged it to push it down properly. She had glanced at it and seen both names, Rose Arwin and Luke Max. Jack's mother assumed those were our chosen names and didn't think much of it at the time. But when Miranda introduced Luke Max at the hospital, Jack's mother recognized Miranda had read the same paper elsewhere. Miranda had snooped in our nursery, discovered what she believed to be our genuine names, and attempted to use one of them first. Jack's mother was furious that Miranda had gone through our personal belongings and that I felt the need to build a trap. I decided to give her the entire truth about my concerns and the phony name arrangement. Jack's mother was not pleased with the deception, but she understood why I had done it. She was angrier about Miranda's probing than my trap. The trouble arose when Jack's mother could not keep the story to herself. She told Jack's father, who notified Tony during a phone call about something else altogether. Tony confronted Miranda, who initially denied everything, but later admitted to looking through our dresser drawers. According to Tony, Miranda broke down totally when she discovered we had duped her. She stated that she had planned to use any term she could find to hurt me and make herself feel better about her own disappointments. She'd spent months resenting my pregnancy and wishing to ruin something for me in the same way that her reproductive issues had ruined everything for her. Tony was upset not only because of the spying, but also because Miranda admitted that she tried to name their son specifically to hurt me. He informed her that she needed to apologize to both Jack and me immediately. Miranda declined. She claimed I had humiliated her by setting her up, and she refused to apologize for anything. She said that I was manipulative and had turned the entire family against her. This resulted in a massive brawl between Miranda and Tony. He pointed out that she had brought all of this upon herself by searching through our personal items and attempting to take our baby names out of spite. Miranda accused him of choosing my side over his own wife's. The disagreement heated up when Tony said that he had never liked the name Luke Max and was relieved they had ended up with Bruce Rocky instead. Miranda screamed that she despised the name Bruce Rocky and wished she hadn't had a baby at all if it wasn't going to be female. Tony moved out that night and has been residing with Jack's folks for the last 3 weeks. He has been caring for baby Bruce throughout the day while Miranda works, and then returning him to her at night. They barely talk to each other. Jack's mother is stuck in the middle, trying to help with both grandsons while Tony and Miranda work out their marriage. She is disturbed about the situation and concerned that all of the strain would impact baby Bruce. Miranda has been telling everybody who will listen that I am a bad person who ruined her marriage through my scheming. She has convinced some of Tony's coworkers and extended family members that I am manipulative and harsh. Jack is unhappy with his brother and Miranda for involving our newborn babies in their turmoil. He wants to cut all contact with them until they resolve their issues. I'm inclined to agree, but Jack's mother begs us not to exacerbate the situation by further dividing the family. I wasn't expecting my small test to reveal this level of dysfunction in Miranda and Tony's relationship. I only wanted to confirm my thoughts about the name theft. There is now a baby caught between two parents who are unable to be in the same room. Part of me feels bad for starting this series of events, but a larger part of me believes Miranda's behavior was bound to produce difficulties soon. I simply happened to be the catalyst that brought everything to light. Update 3. Miranda and Tony separated, and she has vanished from our lives entirely. The divorce process progressed fast because they had only been married for 6 years and did not own much jointly. Tony maintained their apartment lease and furniture. Miranda moved back in with her parents in another city around 2 hours away. The custody arrangement for infant Bruce became the most serious concern. Miranda first wanted full custody, stating Tony's work schedule was too unpredictable for him to be a responsible parent. Tony responded by bringing up Miranda's remark that she wished she hadn't had the baby. Jack's mother ended up testifying about Miranda's behavior during the name dispute, including her admission that she tried to intentionally damage me. The judge was unimpressed by someone who would use their baby's name as a weapon against family members. Tony received primary custody, with Miranda receiving supervised visits every other weekend. She has to drive to our city for the visits since the judge does not want baby Bruce to travel back and forth all the time. Jack's parents oversaw the visits in their home. Miranda attended her planned visits and obeyed the regulations for the first month, but she appeared distant from Bruce, frequently passing him off to Jack's mother while she sat on her phone or watched television. Miranda began missing visits, first 1, then 2, in a sequence, followed by months without touch. She stopped returning Tony's calls to schedule makeup appointments. When Jack's mother attempted to contact Miranda, her phone went directly to voicemail. We discovered on social media that Miranda had been dating someone new, a man she had supposedly met at work before returning to live with her parents. Her Instagram photos showed them traveling together, going to restaurants, and generally living like a childless couple in their 20s. Tony was devastated. Despite everything that had transpired, he hoped Miranda would stand up as Bruce's mother. He'd been suffering with his own guilt about their marriage's dissolution, wondering if he could have handled things differently. Jack's mother stepped in to help Tony with childcare while he worked. She basically became Bruce's primary caretaker during the day, which worked out perfectly because she already looked after my 3 children on a daily basis. The cousins are growing up together, which benefits everyone involved. Miranda made one farewell appearance at a family gathering to celebrate Jack's grandmother's 85th birthday last month. She arrived unexpectedly with her new partner, presumably expecting to be welcomed back as if nothing had occurred. The mood became tense instantly. Miranda's boyfriend was uneasy when he realized he'd walked into a complicated family situation. Miranda tried to act normal, asking to hold Bruce and commenting on how much he had grown. Tony returned Bruce after a few minutes and informed Miranda that she wasn't supposed to be there outside of scheduled visits. Miranda claimed she was family and had every right to attend family gatherings. Jack's father finally stood up, telling Miranda that she had lost the right to appear unannounced after months of ignoring her son and bad-mouthing family members. He asked her and her partner to leave. Miranda burst into tears, claiming that everyone had turned against her for something she had done nothing to deserve. She claimed that I had ruined her life through manipulation and that no one cared about her side of the story. I had remained quiet throughout the confrontation, but that comment pushed me to speak up. I informed Miranda that digging through my personal belongings and attempting to steal my baby's name out of spite was her decision, not mine. I told her that she was responsible for every problem in her life and that she should quit blaming others for her actions. Miranda called me names I won't repeat here and said she wished I'd be unhappy for the rest of my life. Her partner was mortified and began pushing her toward the door. They left as she continued to hurl accusations at various family members. That was 2 months ago. Miranda hasn't contacted anyone from her family since then. Tony found out, through mutual friends, that she and her lover had moved out of state together. She allegedly told people that her ex-husband's family prevented her from seeing her son, which is absolutely false, but simpler than admitting she picked her current relationship above her child. Tony's been doing well as a single father. Bruce is a cheerful, healthy baby who lights up whenever he sees his father or grandparents. Tony recently began dating someone new, a woman who works for his company and has 2 children from a previous marriage. She appears to understand his circumstances and gets along well with Bruce. As for me, I have no regrets about creating the name trap. Miranda's reaction to being caught exposed her true personality. Someone who would abandon their child because they couldn't take being exposed for their petty, spiteful actions was never going to be a decent mother. My twins are thriving, and my elder son enjoys being a big brother. Jack and I are tired yet thrilled with our 3 children. Despite everything, Jack's bond with Tony has grown stronger. They now communicate regularly and support each other as fathers. Family gatherings are much more serene without Miranda's drama and nastiness. Jack's mother can focus on being a grandmother rather than dealing with Miranda's emotional outbursts. Even Jack's father, who normally keeps out of family disputes, has remarked on how much calmer everyone seems. People sometimes ask me if I'm unhappy with how things turned out. The reality is that I did not cause Miranda to abandon her child or end her marriage. I simply created a situation that revealed her actual character. She could have accepted being caught gracefully, apologized for snooping, and gone on with her life. Instead, she chose to destroy every relationship she had rather than accept responsibility for her actions. Bruce is better off without a mother who despised his existence from the day he was born. Tony is better off without a wife who married him as a consolation prize and spent years wishing she had picked someone else. The entire family is better off without someone who adds drama and negativity to every gathering. It still amazes me how something that started as a harmless bet between Jack and me ended up changing the entire dynamic of the family. At times, I wonder if the trap simply accelerated what was inevitable. Miranda had spent years sowing bitterness toward her husband, toward me, and even toward her own in-laws. All it took was a small push for her world to unravel. Jack and I learned a lot through it. We've become more cautious about what we share, even with family. We also learned that silence can be far more powerful than confrontation. Ignoring Miranda's provocations was what drove her the most insane. She couldn't stand not being the center of attention. When she couldn't get that satisfaction, she created chaos just to feel significant again. In hindsight, the trap wasn't just about names. It was about boundaries. Miranda believed she had the right to pry, to meddle, to claim what wasn't hers. Setting that trap showed her, and everyone else, that some doors aren't meant to be opened. Jack's mother once said that maybe my actions were the shock therapy Miranda needed to face her own reflection. Maybe she was right. But the truth is, some people look into the mirror and still refuse to change. They just blame the mirror for what it shows them. Tony, on the other hand, has changed for the better. He's become more grounded, more present as a father. Jack says he's the happiest he's ever seen him. He spends weekends taking Bruce to parks, building model airplanes, and even joining us for family dinners again. There's laughter where tension used to live. As for Bruce, he'll grow up surrounded by love, stability, and a family that truly wants him. He'll have cousins who are like siblings and grandparents who adore him. And one day, when he's old enough to understand, I hope he knows that even though his mother made poor choices, he was always wanted, always loved. Sometimes I look back and wonder what would have happened if Miranda hadn't gone snooping that night. Maybe she would have still spiraled, maybe not. But one thing I know for sure, truth always finds a way to surface. You can hide jealousy, bitterness, or resentment for only so long before it eats through the surface. In the end, Miranda exposed herself, not because I trapped her, but because she couldn't resist being the person she truly was. She made her choices, and life responded accordingly. Now, every time I walk past the nursery and see Rose's name on the wall, I smile, not because it reminds me of the scheme, but because it reminds me of the peace that came after the storm. Some battles aren't won by shouting, they're won by patience, wit, and quiet confidence. And if I've learned anything from all of this, it's that family drama doesn't destroy people. Character does. Miranda had every opportunity to grow, to heal, to love, but instead she chose pride. And pride, as always, was the beginning of her fall.